Vivian was stronger, her wolf fully functional and powerful. But Sarah was faster, more desperate, and years of survival had taught her to fight dirty. She managed to land a solid kick to Vivian's ribs, sending the she-wolf stumbling back. For a moment, they faced each other, both breathing hard. "Why?" Sarah demanded. "Why do you hate me so much?" "Because you're everything I'm not," Vivian spat. "Genuine. Kind. Brave. Kale looks at you the way he'll never look at me, and I can't allow that. My father and I have worked too hard, sacrificed too much." She stopped abruptly, eyes widening as she realized what she had said. "Your father," Sarah repeated slowly. Understanding crashed over her like a wave. "Alpha Randall Nightshade. He was part of the conspiracy, wasn't he? He helped frame my father." Vivian's expression turned calculating. "You're smarter than you look." "Yes, my father orchestrated the whole thing. Marcus Wintermoon controlled valuable territory that my father wanted. So he fabricated evidence, bribed witnesses, and convinced the other alphas to attack. It was brilliant, really." "You knew," Sarah breathed. "You knew the truth all along." "Of course I knew. I helped plan it." Vivian smiled coldly. "I was 17, eager to prove myself to my father. Planting false evidence was so easy when everyone wanted to believe the worst." Rage exploded through Sarah, hot and fierce. Her wolf surged forward with unprecedented strength, and for the first time in 3 years, the barriers began to crack. "You murdered innocent people," Sarah snarled. "Children. Elders. My mother. Casualties of war," Vivian said dismissively. "And now you're going to join them." She lunged again, but this time Sarah was ready. Her wolf burst through the weakened barriers with a force that made her gasp. It wasn't a full transformation, not yet, but power flooded her limbs, sharpening her senses, lending her strength she hadn't possessed moments before. The assassination attempt. That night, Sarah lay in her cot, unable to sleep. Her chest ached with the pain of rejection, with the stupidity of her own hope. She had let herself forget who she was, a rogue, a prisoner, the daughter of a supposed traitor. Of course Cale didn't care about her. Of course it had all been manipulation. Her wolf whimpered in distress, scratching at the weakening barriers. But Sarah pushed it down, not ready to face the full reality of the mate bond that would never be acknowledged. She was drifting into uneasy sleep when she heard it, the soft creak of a floorboard outside her door. Sarah's eyes snapped open. The servants' quarters were silent, everyone long asleep. But someone was moving in the hallway, trying to be quiet. She rolled silently out of bed, pressing herself against the wall beside the door. Her damaged wolf surged forward, lending her strength and speed even without a full transformation. The door opened slowly. A figure slipped inside, moonlight glinting off something metal in their hand. A knife. Sarah moved instinctively, years of rogue survival taking over. She grabbed the intruder's wrist and twisted, using their momentum against them. The knife clattered to the floor as they stumbled. Then the intruder turned, and Sarah found herself staring into familiar emerald eyes. "Vivian." "You," Sarah breathed. Vivian's beautiful face twisted with rage. "You should have died 3 years ago with the rest of your pathetic pack. But since you survived, I'll finish the job myself." She lunged forward with supernatural speed, her wolf lending her strength. Sarah barely dodged, rolling away as Vivian's claws tore through the mattress where she had been standing. "You're insane," Sarah gasped. "I'm protecting what's mine." Vivian snarled. "Cale is mine. This pack is mine. And I won't let some rogue whore steal my future." They fought in desperate silence, both knowing that noise would bring guards. She had been such a fool. She had let herself hope, let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she could have something good after years of suffering. "Thank you for clarifying," she said, her voice hollow. She turned and walked toward the door. "Sarah, wait." But she was already gone, fleeing through the halls with tears streaming down her face. Vivian smiled in satisfaction. Well, that was dramatic. Now, shall we discuss our engagement announcement? Cale rounded on her, his eyes flashing gold with his wolf's rage. Get out. Excuse me? I said get out. The alpha command in his voice made the windows rattle. And don't ever speak to Sarah like that again. Do you understand? Vivian's smug expression faltered. You're choosing her? A rogue? Over me? I'm choosing the truth, Cale said coldly. And right now, I don't know what the truth is. But I intend to find out. Before she could answer, the study door burst open. Vivian stood in the doorway, her emerald eyes flashing with fury as she took in the intimate scene, Cale's hands on Sarah's shoulders, their bodies close together, the tension crackling between them. How sweet, Vivian said, her voice dripping with venom. The alpha comforting his pet rogue. Tell me, Cale, does she know you're only keeping her alive to use her as a source of information? Or does she actually believe you care about her? Sarah stepped back from Cale as if burned. What? Vivian, Cale warned, his voice dark with alpha command. Leave. Now. Oh, I don't think so. Vivian moved into the room, her smile cruel. Someone needs to remind this rogue of her place. You're nothing, girl. A prisoner who should have been executed weeks ago. The only reason you're still breathing is because Cale thinks you might have information he can use. That's not true, Cale said sharply, but doubt had already bloomed in Sarah's chest. Was it true? Had she been fooling herself this whole time? Isn't it? Vivian turned to Cale. Tell her the truth, darling. Tell her that once you've finished your little investigation, she'll be sent away or executed as originally planned. Tell her there's no future for a rogue in your pack, no matter how much you might enjoy her company in the meantime. Sarah looked at Cale, her heart breaking. Is that true? Am I just useful? No, Cale said firmly. But there was hesitation in his eyes, confusion about the intensity of his own feelings. Sarah, it's not like that. Then what is it like? Sarah demanded. What am I to you, Alpha Cale? Your prisoner? Your informant? Your entertainment? Cale stopped, jaw clenching. He couldn't say it. Couldn't admit the truth with Vivian standing right there, couldn't acknowledge the bond that was becoming impossible to deny. His silence was answer enough. Sarah felt something crack inside her chest. The growing bond. As weeks passed, Sarah felt the walls around her wolf beginning to crumble. The healing sessions were working, slowly but surely. She could feel her connection strengthening, could sense her wolf's presence more clearly each day. And along with her wolf's awakening came a devastating realization. Cale was her mate. The bond had been there all along, damaged and suppressed like her wolf, but real nonetheless. Her wolf had recognized him that first day in the Great Hall, had been trying desperately to reach him ever since. It explained everything, the electric pull between them, the way her body responded to his nearness, the fierce protectiveness she felt despite their complicated history. But it was impossible. Cale was betrothed to Vivian. And Sarah was still technically his prisoner, the daughter of the man he believed had been a traitor. She tried to hide the bond, tried to suppress the growing feelings. But it became harder each day. One evening, they were in his study reviewing documents when a summer storm rolled through. Thunder shook the windows, and lightning illuminated the room in brilliant flashes. Sarah flinched at a particularly loud crack, old memories of the attack on her pack rising unbidden. Cale was at her side instantly, his hands gentle on her shoulders. Hey, he said softly. You're safe. It's just a storm. I know. But her hands were shaking, and tears burned behind her eyes. It's stupid. I used to love storms. But now. Trauma changes us, Cale said. His thumb traced soothing circles on her shoulder. There's no shame in that. Sarah looked up at him, and the concern in his gray eyes made her heart ache. She couldn't do this anymore. Couldn't pretend she didn't feel the bond between them, couldn't ignore the way her entire being called out for him. "Cale," she whispered. "I need to tell you something." "What is it?" "In the garden, supposedly discussing wedding preparations. Is something troubling you?" "Just pack business," Cale said, gently removing her hand. "Nothing for you to worry about. But I want to help. We're going to be partners soon, aren't we? Mates?" She leaned closer, her perfume cloying. "You can tell me anything. It's nothing important." Vivian's eyes narrowed. She had been manipulating Cale for months, carefully planting seeds of affection, working toward securing her position as Luna of the powerful Blackwood pack. She had come too far to lose him now, especially not to some pathetic rogue. "Is this about the Wintermoon girl?" she asked, keeping her voice light and curious. Cale's expression shuddered immediately. "What about her?" "I've heard you've been spending time with her. Having her work in your private study." Vivian smiled sweetly. "People are beginning to talk, Cale. It doesn't look good, the Alpha spending so much time alone with a young female prisoner. I'm investigating her claims about her father. That's all. Of course. I just worry about appearances." Vivian placed her hand on his chest, looking up at him with false concern. "Perhaps you should assign someone else to handle the investigation? Let me help. My father has extensive records from that time." "No." The word came out sharp, almost protective. "I'll handle it myself." Vivian's smile didn't waver, but inside, rage bloomed hot and fierce. She had seen that look in Cale's eyes, the possessive edge when he spoke about the rogue, the defensive stance. He was developing feelings for her. That couldn't be allowed. Natural flow of transformation. "Your wolf is still there," Thorne explained during their first session. "Strong and vital. But the trauma created walls to protect you from pain. Now those walls have become a prison." The healing sessions were agonizing. Thorne used a combination of herbs, meditation, and spiritual techniques to help Sarah reconnect with her wolf. Each time she tried to reach for that connection, pain exploded through her body, echoes of the silver burning, memories of watching her parents die. But slowly, gradually, progress came. One evening, after a particularly intense session, Sarah stumbled from Thorne's cabin and found Cale waiting outside. He caught her as her knees buckled, lifting her easily into his arms. "You should be resting," he said, carrying her toward the pack house. "I'm fine," Sarah protested weakly, but she didn't try to pull away. Being in his arms felt right in a way that terrified her. "You're exhausted. Thorne says you're pushing too hard. I need my wolf back. I need to be whole again." Cale looked down at her, and something intense burned in his eyes. "You're not broken, Sarah. Damaged, yes. Hurt. But not broken. There's a strength in you that most wolves never develop." His words made her throat tighten with emotion. No one had called her strong in 3 years. No one had seen past the damaged rogue to the warrior she had once been. "Why do you care?" she asked quietly. Cale's jaw tightened, and he didn't answer. But his arms tightened around her, and Sarah's wolf sang with joy despite the pain. The rival's suspicion. Vivian noticed the change immediately. The she-wolf had been spending more time at Blackwood Pack, preparing for the engagement announcement. And she had seen how Cale looked at the rogue prisoner, had noticed the way his attention strayed during their conversations. "You're distracted, darling," Vivian purred one afternoon, running her fingers down Cale's arm. They were. "And Sarah?" His hand came up to cup her chin, tilting her face toward his. The gesture was gentle but possessive, sending heat flooding through her body. "If I find out you're lying to me, if this is some elaborate rogue trick, I will show you no mercy. Do you understand?" "I'm not lying," she whispered. "I swear on my father's memory." For a heartbeat, she thought he might kiss her. His eyes dropped to her lips, and her wolf held with desperate want. But then Cale stepped back, breaking the moment. Return to your quarters. We'll continue this tomorrow. The healing sessions. Over the following days, a strange partnership formed between them. Cale would call Sarah to his private study in the evenings, where they would pore over documents and discuss theories about who might have framed her father and why. But they also talked about other things. Sarah found herself sharing memories of her childhood, stories about her parents, dreams she'd had before everything was destroyed. And Cale, to her surprise, opened up as well. My father died defending our borders from genuine rogues, he told her one night. I was barely 25, unprepared to lead. When the other alphas came to me with evidence of Marcus Winterman's crimes, I wanted to prove myself worthy. I wanted to show I was strong enough to make hard decisions. So you led the attack, Sarah said softly. Yes. And I've carried the weight of those deaths ever since. He looked at her, gray eyes haunted. If your father was innocent, then I have innocent blood on my hands. That's not something I can simply apologize away. I know, Sarah said. But finding the truth, bringing the real culprits to justice, that would mean something. It won't bring back the dead, but it would honor their memory. Meanwhile, the pack healer, an ancient wolf named Elder Thorn, had begun working with Sarah on healing her damaged connection to her wolf. The silver poisoning had created deep scars in her spiritual pathways, blocking the expression growing darker with each passing moment. Finally, he said, this isn't proof. It's suspicious, yes, but it could be explained by simple clerical errors or it could be evidence of a conspiracy, Sarah interrupted. Why did Rowan disappear? If he was innocent, if he truly believed my father was guilty, why run? People run for many reasons. Not loyal betas. Not unless they have something to hide. Cale straightened, and Sarah suddenly realized how close they were standing. She could feel the heat radiating from his body, could smell his scent, pine and winter air and something uniquely him. Her damaged wolf pressed against the barriers in her mind, desperate to get closer. No. This couldn't be happening. I've been investigating quietly, Cale said, his voice rough. For the past week, since you first told me your story. Something about your words rang true, and I can't ignore my instincts. Sarah's breath caught. You believe me? I believe there are questions that need answers. He paused, then added reluctantly, I was young when we attacked Wintermoon, only 25 and newly confirmed as Alpha after my father's death. I trusted the older Alphas to guide me, trusted their evidence and their judgment. But if they were wrong, if I helped destroy an innocent pack. The pain in his voice was raw and real. Sarah felt her anger toward him soften slightly. He had been deceived too, manipulated by wolves more experienced and more cunning. Help me find the truth, she said quietly. Please. My father deserves justice, and your pack deserves to know they weren't tricked into becoming murderers. Cale met her eyes, and for a long moment, the air between them crackled with tension. Then he nodded slowly. We investigate together. But secretly. If there truly is a conspiracy, whoever orchestrated it is powerful enough to have fooled multiple alpha packs. They won't hesitate to silence us if they discover what we're doing. I understand. The Alpha's investigation. Sarah's first instinct was to run, but there was nowhere to go. Alpha Cale filled the doorway, his powerful presence making the records room feel suddenly smaller. She clutched the file to her chest, her damaged wolf stirring with both fear and that strange, inexplicable recognition. I asked you a question, Cale said, his voice dangerously soft. He stepped into the room and closed the door behind him. What are you doing here in the middle of the night, going through classified pack documents? Sarah lifted her chin defiantly. Looking for the truth. The same thing you should be doing instead of accepting convenient lies. Something flickered in Cale's gray eyes, anger, perhaps, or grudging respect. He moved closer, and Sarah fought the urge to back away. She refused to show weakness, not now. "Show me what you found," he commanded. For a moment, Sarah considered refusing. These documents were her only hope, her only chance to prove her father's innocence. If she gave them to Cale, he could destroy them, bury the truth forever. But something in his expression made her hesitate. There was genuine curiosity there, and underneath it, a flicker of doubt. "Look at this," she said finally, spreading the documents on the nearby table. "These testimonies from witnesses who supposedly saw my father at the attack sites. The dates don't match the actual raids. 3 of these witnesses claim they saw him on the same night in different territories that are 2 days' travel apart." Cale leaned over the table, his shoulder brushing hers. The contact sent an electric jolt through Sarah's body, and her wolf whimpered again with that maddening recognition. "And here," Sarah continued, trying to ignore the distraction of his nearness. "These reports are supposedly written by Beta Rowan, but look at the signature. The handwriting is similar but not identical to his other official documents. Someone was forging his signature." Cale studied the papers in silence. His was framed. "Oh, please." Vivian's laugh was sharp. "She's a liar trying to save her own skin. Her father was a monster. You have all the proof you need." Proof provided by a beta who conveniently disappeared afterward. There was a long silence. Then Vivian's voice turned cold. "Are you doubting me? My father was one of the alphas who helped bring Marcus to justice. I'm not doubting anyone. I'm investigating." "Well, investigate quickly. I won't be kept waiting forever, Cale. And neither will my father." Footsteps approached the door, and Sarah quickly scrambled away, her heart pounding. But she had heard enough. Vivian's father had been part of the attack on Wintermoon Pack. Which meant he had been part of whatever conspiracy had framed Sarah's father. The discovery. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. Her mind churned with possibilities, connections, suspicions. She rose quietly and slipped through the dark hallways. Security was tight, but the guards didn't pay much attention to a lowly servant. She made her way to the records room where packed documents were stored. The door was locked, but Sarah had learned to pick locks during her years as a rogue. Within minutes, she was inside, surrounded by shelves of files and ledgers. She searched frantically, looking for anything related to the Wintermoon investigation. And finally, tucked away in a box marked closed cases, she found it. The evidence file against her father. Sarah's hands trembled as she read through testimonies, reports, witness statements. Everything pointed to Marcus Wintermoon as the culprit. But as she read more carefully, she began to notice inconsistencies. Dates that didn't match. Testimonies that contradicted each other. And strangest of all, several key documents bore Beta Rowan's signature, but the handwriting looked different from his other official papers. Forgeries. They had to be. Find something interesting? Sarah spun around, heart leaping into her throat. Alpha Cale stood in the door. Floors, preparing meals, washing linens. The other servants avoided her, and pack members whispered cruel things when she passed. But she endured. And she watched. And she listened. She learned that Alpha Cale was respected and feared in equal measure. That he was fair but ruthless with rule-breakers. That he had never taken a chosen mate, though many she-wolves vied for his attention. And she learned about Vivian Nightshade. Vivian was the daughter of Alpha Randall Nightshade, who controlled valuable trading routes through the Western Territories. An alliance between Blackwood and Nightshade would make both packs nearly unstoppable. Sarah first saw Vivian on her 8th day at the pack house. The she-wolf was breathtakingly beautiful, tall and elegant with flowing red hair and emerald eyes. She moved through the halls like she already owned them, and pack members bowed respectfully as she passed. "That's the Alphas intended," Martha whispered when she caught Sarah staring. "They'll announce the official engagement next month. It's been arranged since they were children." Sarah's chest tightened with an emotion she refused to name. It didn't matter. Cale was nothing to her. He was the Alpha who had helped destroy her pack, even if he had been deceived like everyone else. But her wolf whimpered in distress, and Sarah couldn't understand why. The hidden truth. That afternoon, Sarah was cleaning the library when raised voices made her freeze. Not ready to announce anything yet, Cale's voice came from his study next door. But darling, we've waited long enough. Vivian's voice was sweet as honey but with an edge beneath. Our families have been planning this alliance for years. What's making you hesitate? I'm not hesitating. I'm being cautious. Is this about that rogue girl? The Wintermoon whelp? Sarah pressed herself against the wall, barely breathing. Her story raised questions I can't ignore, Cale said. If there's even a possibility that Marcus Wintermoon. He's the key to everything. Cale was silent for a long moment. Finally, he said, I'll make you an offer. You'll work in my pack house as a servant. If you truly believe your father was innocent, use that time to find proof. But if you cause any trouble, if you harm any of my pack members, I'll execute you myself. Understood? Sarah's heart leaped with desperate hope. It wasn't freedom, but it was a chance. Understood, Alpha. Take her to the servants' quarters, Cale ordered the guards. Remove the silver chains but keep her under watch. She's not to leave pack grounds without my permission. As they led her away, Sarah glanced back once and found Cale still staring at her with that same confused, intense expression. Her damaged wolf stirred again, whispering something she couldn't quite hear. The she-wolf's cruelty. The servants' quarters were simple but clean, a vast improvement from the cell Sarah had expected. An older woman named Martha showed her where she would sleep and explained her duties. You'll work in the kitchens and help maintain the pack house, Martha said kindly. She was perhaps 50, with gentle eyes and gray-streaked hair. The work is hard but honest. Keep your head down and you'll be fine. Thank you, Sarah whispered. Most of the pack won't trust you, Martha warned. They lost friends and family to your father's supposed crimes. But I believe everyone deserves a chance to prove themselves. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes at the unexpected kindness. It had been so long since anyone had shown her compassion. That night, as she lay on her simple cot, Sarah reached for her wolf. The connection was still damaged, still painful, but for the first time in 3 years, she felt a flicker of hope. She would find the truth. She would clear her father's name. And she would make Rowan pay for what he had done. The rival's introduction. Sarah's first week at Blackwood Pack was grueling. She worked from dawn until long after dark, scrubbing place as his heir. Her wolf had been strong then, beautiful and silver-white like fresh snow. She had been proud of her heritage, confident in her future. Then Beta Rowan had returned from a diplomatic mission with disturbing news. 3 neighboring packs had been attacked. Resources stolen. Wolves murdered in their sleep. And all evidence pointed to Alpha Marcus as the mastermind. It's a lie, her father had sworn, gathering his most trusted warriors. Someone is framing us. We need to find the real culprit before. But it was too late. The Northern Alliance had descended on Wintermoon territory like an avenging storm. 5 Alpha packs united, led by the powerful Blackwood Pack. They had given no warning, shown no mercy. Sarah remembered fire and blood. Remembered her mother's scream as she fell defending their home. Remembered her father shouting for her to run, to hide, to survive. She had tried to fight. Her wolf had surged forward, desperate to protect her pack. But then the silver nets had fallen, burning her skin, poisoning her bloodstream. The pain had been so intense that her wolf had retreated deep inside, traumatized and broken. When Sarah woke 3 days later, everything was gone. Her pack destroyed. Her parents dead. Her wolf damaged beyond repair. And Beta Rowan had vanished without a trace, taking with him any evidence that might have cleared her father's name. For 3 years, Sarah had survived alone as a rogue. Hunted. Starving. Searching desperately for any proof of the conspiracy that had destroyed her life. Until the Blackwood Pack's trackers had finally caught her. Present, the assignment. Sarah opened her eyes, finding Cale still watching her intently. She had told him everything: the attack, the silver poisoning, her father's innocence, Rowan's betrayal. An interesting tale, Cale said slowly. But it's just your word against documented evidence. Then investigate, Sarah challenged. Look deeper into what happened 3 years ago. Find Rowan. And something about him made Sarah's damaged wolf whimper with recognition. No. That was impossible. Look at me properly, Cale commanded. Sarah lifted her chin, meeting his gaze directly despite the chains. For a moment, something flickered in his expression: surprise, perhaps, or confusion. The air between them seemed to thicken, charged with energy she couldn't name. Cale's jaw tightened. Do you know why you're here? Because you believe my father was a traitor, Sarah said quietly. Her voice was hoarse from days without water, but steady. Because you blame me for crimes I didn't commit. Your father destroyed 3 packs, Cale said coldly. He killed innocent wolves, including children. He stole territory and resources, then disappeared like a coward when we came for justice. My father was innocent. The words burst from Sarah before she could stop them. He was framed. Someone wanted him destroyed, wanted our pack eliminated, and they succeeded. Murmurs rippled through the gathered wolves. Cale's eyes narrowed dangerously. You dare defend him? We have evidence. Witnesses. Your father's own beta testified against him. Rowan was a liar, Sarah spat. He was the real traitor, and he used my father as a shield for his own crimes. The interrogation. Cale descended from his throne, moving with the fluid grace of a predator. He circled Sarah slowly, studying her. She forced herself not to flinch, not to show fear, even though every instinct screamed at her to submit to this alpha's overwhelming presence. Tell me your story, Cale said finally. From the beginning. If you're innocent as you claim, prove it. Sarah closed her eyes, and the memories came flooding back. Flashback, 3 years ago. She was 20 years old, happy and whole. The Wintermoon pack had been small but prosperous, nestled in the mountains where snow fell 9 months of the year. Her father, Alpha Marcus, had been beloved by his people, fair, wise, protective. Sarah had been training to take her. The prisoner's arrival. The iron chains burned against Luna Sarah's wrists as the guards dragged her through the massive gates of Blackwood Pack territory. Every step sent pain shooting through her weakened legs, but she refused to cry out. She had learned long ago that showing weakness only invited more cruelty. Keep moving, rogue scum, one guard snarled, shoving her forward roughly. Sarah stumbled but caught herself. Her wolf stirred weakly inside her, trying to offer strength but failing. The silver poisoning had damaged their connection 3 years ago, leaving her half broken, half alive. She could feel her wolf's presence like a distant echo, but the bond that should have been strong and vibrant was fractured and fading. The Blackwood Pack house rose before her like a fortress carved from dark stone and ancient timber. It was magnificent and terrifying all at once. Wolves lined the pathways, watching her with hostile eyes. To them, she was the daughter of a traitor, the spawn of Alpha Marcus Wintermoon, the rogue who had supposedly betrayed the Northern Alliance and caused the deaths of dozens of innocent pack members. But Sarah knew the truth. Her father had been framed. The Alpha's judgment. They threw her into the great hall, and Sarah's knees hit the cold stone floor hard. She kept her head down, long dark hair falling around her face like a curtain, hiding the defiance in her amber eyes. So this is the Wintermoon whelp. The voice was deep, commanding, and sent an unexpected shiver down Sarah's spine. She looked up slowly and found herself staring into the most intense gray eyes she had ever seen. Alpha Cale Blackwood stood before his throne, arms crossed over his broad chest. He was young for an alpha, perhaps only 28 or 29, with dark hair and a presence that filled the entire hall. Power radiated from him like heat from a fire. He was everything an alpha should be: strong, commanding, dangerous.